Yeah, it's working, okay. Okay, so congratulations from an older colleague to everyone who's put so much work in this project, and you did it with passion, which is the key ingredient to all success. So please join me again for a big round of applause for all the project team and the speakers. I'm afraid my presentation is going to be a bit boring because it's redundant. In order to demonstrate what a wonderful union we have at the European level, I am going to have to repeat what everything has been said already, because Romania is no different than all the countries that were presented here. So please bear with me. Guess what? We also have a high unemployment rate of youth. Only we started also in 2007 with a higher than average rate, whereas now we are kind of right at the average of European Union. I have to say a bad joke now, so you will have to edit this, but before we joined the European Union, we used to say in Romania, when Romania is joining EU, EU is going to collapse. So I'm sorry, but these numbers kind of demonstrate that, yeah, EU is catching up with the Romanian statistics on youth unemployment. It's our fault. I'm not going to bother with all the statistics in terms of age groups. They're kind of, as I said, the average level of European Union. Of course, we also have regional differences in terms of unemployment, with the 36% in southern Romania as compared to 11% in northern Romania. Maybe what to note here is that 43.3% of the unemployed persons between 15 to 24 years old are long-term unemployed, which is over 12 months. Youth without education and without training, which is called NEET, right? 20% in 2012, increasing from 13% in 2007, which is a big problem, because these people are at the highest risk of not being integrated on the labor market. And the average length of time between graduation and the first job is 10 months. This is also an increasing statistics. Access to labor market occurs later, and the income is lower in the past 5 years. Romania has the highest poverty level of unemployed youth between 18 to 24 years old, as compared to European countries. Over 30% are poor, yeah, as compared to 19% of total population in Romania and 11% at European average. One of the most vulnerable groups, youth working in informal sector, particularly in subsistence agricultural farming. Over 40% of young persons between 15 to 13 years old are engaged in agricultural farming. In subsistence agriculture, to be more precise. 19% of total population working in the informal sector are young people between 15 to 24. Some of the problems that are identified in the labor market is its inflexibility. It doesn't allow flexible working hours, flexible working contracts. It does not facilitate and does not help going to school in parallel with having a job. So some of the, I will just go a little bit faster, and of course more details and statistics will be found on the presentation uploaded on the net. Some of the reasons for such a high and increasing unemployment rate we have identified: it's the low education level, school dropout, 17% for the age group of 18 to 24, high costs for going to school, 55% of young people consider that as an impediment. Of course, the discrepancy between education and the labor market demands. Lack of trust in the efficiency of the vocational training courses or in reconversion programs, and in fact, that going to school can improve a person's condition and can make it easier for them to access the labor market. Lack of work experience makes them vulnerable in the competition with other workers. 59% of the employers cannot afford hiring young people without any experience. And from the employer's perspective, today's young generation is less motivated to work as it used to be 5-10 years ago. Young people demand too high salaries. 71% of the employers report that young people are not willing to accept jobs below their qualifications. Regarding entrepreneurship, 27% of Romanians youth declare they want to start a business, but only 1 out of 100 people decide to start a business, as compared to 1 to 4 in Poland or Hungary, or Czech Republic, actually, if I remember well. The reasons for a low number of startup businesses is the lack of money, the high bureaucracy, high costs, low level of entrepreneurial education. Less than 10% of the young people who start a business have entrepreneurial education, as compared with 30% EU average. And the negative perception of career success factors. 47% consider that connections and social positions are preconditions for success. We have a number of policies at the governmental level to reduce youth unemployment. They start from subsidies to employers for hiring young graduates, whether high school graduates or university graduates. They receive a subsidy for 12 months, which is actually a reduction of the employer's taxes. Organization of job fairs, access to vocational training, access to career counseling. These are done by the labor offices, but unfortunately the labor offices have very little money to ensure the training courses and to ensure the number of career. Actually in Timișoara, well, if they have only 1 career counselor for over 10,000 unemployed persons. So that's, okay, some policies exist. My point is here, some policies exist. Some problems are recognized at the national level, including the discrepancy between the labor market and the skills acquired in the educational systems. There are under preparation some new regulations regarding introducing new facilities and support for youth labor market integration, but apart from the ones that are related strictly to some subsidies, there aren't any systems in place that ensure concrete measures to assist the young people. They're mainly on paper. We've been talking about the discrepancy between education and labor market for 10 years, and things are not improving at all because they don't create the mechanism. Who is responsible? How is responsible? Who does what? How? By when? For example. And a big help in Romania after the European accession was the access to the European Social Fund money. That supported quite a lot of initiatives that could provide free training, support to entrepreneurs, regional centers or all sorts of centers that give information, career counseling, job matching. And some of the examples I chose here is one that is a very successful project in Western Romania. Based in Timișoara is the Romanian-German Foundation that had a partnership with a Hornbach retailer of, I don't know if probably you're familiar, it's all over the place, this retailer of shop of household products, anything that is linked to, yeah. And Hornbach needed the workers. The German foundation provided the training. The training was also accredited by the German Chamber of Commerce. It was the only, rather, it was the only international training acknowledged and certified by the German Chamber of Commerce. And so 115 people were hired through this method. And I think this type of partnership between the employer and the supplier of vocational training is really important. Also, I think when they will run an impact study for the Social European Fund projects, we will most likely see that without this type of link existing prior to project implementation between employer and training organization, you train the people, but still their condition is likely not to be improved if they're not concretely assisted to find a job, and you don't know who wants them and when and how many are wanted. And also a new development in the educational system is introducing career counseling and simulated enterprises, both in high schools and in higher education, and with good results for the students that benefit of this type of training and counseling. What we do, the Center of Rural Assistance, we're also positioned as a regional center for rural entrepreneurship. We have a network of 6 job clubs in Western Romania where we provide information, we provide career counseling, self-marketing skills for young unemployed people, and recently we've introduced also the video CVs with them, which we found a very good exercise practice for them to learn how to present themselves in front of the camera as if in front of the employer. Also, we're starting to, the idea was well received by employers as well, to be able to first get in contact with a video CV and then invite the young people for interviews. We do training for entrepreneurial skills on quite a large scale, which always has integrated a mentoring and coaching component for one-to-one development of business plans, support for all the bureaucracy that is needed to start up a business, support for accessing startup funds, not related, well, in a way related to entrepreneurial skills. We also provide training for crafts production, in the sense that those who are interested, primarily the small craftsmen, interested to learn the craft and then start their own business. So these 2 components are integrated in what we do. Related to European Social Fund, I would like to draw your attention that in November there will be launched a new call in Romania for transnational cooperation for new methods and instruments that facilitate the labor market integration, and we are looking for partners. I also mentioned here, so that your decision is informed whether you're interested or not, we will need to provide in the project a minimum of 6 new partnerships, which mean where the project partners are not counted in this. So each project partner will have to develop other partnerships that in order to focus on labor market integration. Yeah. We can do studies, research, events, and develop new methods and instruments that would facilitate and help the youngsters' integration on the labor market. The budget can go up to 2.5 million for a strategic project, euro, and the own contribution of each partner related to its own budget would be 2%. So whoever is interested, please let me know these days or contact me by mail, phone, anyway. If you have any questions, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Alina. I propose here to put your questions at the end of the panel, okay? If it's okay with you. Thank you again for your presentation. Hopefully the EU will survive. And it's true that we can say, put an extra stress on the importance of vocational training in formal and informal education. So thank you for that. Thank you for your contribution again. And Mr. Ramón Martinez, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I know that it's already 1:30 and some people may be thinking about other things. And the room has, like, we have been for a while in the room, so I would like to ask you for 1 second to please stand up. Yeah. Stretch a little bit because these chairs are very comfortable, but they also lower our energy. Look at one person next to you and say hello to that person. Okay, actively say hello. It has to go out of your mouth, not only out of your hand. Yes, and now look at a different person and shake hands. Shake hands with that person. Interact. Yeah, like in church. Okay, thank you very much. You can sit down again. My Prezi has loaded. Ooh. Shit. Oh, yeah. No. Okay, perfect. So I'm Ramón Martinez. I'm a trainer, project manager, and youth worker from the north of Spain. Currently, I'm working in Germany, but still I'm connected because of some different projects on social activism with Spain, and that's the reason why I'm explaining the situation in Spain. Why should you listen to me during the next 15-20 minutes? I think this is important to say at the beginning. The first reason is because I'm going to show you in a fast way the different facts that you may know about the situation of Spain. Everybody talk about Spain. Everybody says Spain is the worst one. Now we will see why. Then in another fast way, we will see how we got to this situation. And finally, we will show exactly the reason for this panel discussion, what the NGOs, what the citizens are doing with this background that they have in Spain. Okay, let's make it more simple. This is Spain. Many people may know it, especially the Mediterranean. Spain has a population of almost 47 million people, from which 31 million are workers. From these, 7.5 million are young people. Between these young people, 3 million are students, 2.5 million are workers, and 2 million are unemployed people. This means that the unemployment rate is 44.6%. Later we will go to it because you may be saying, everybody says that the unemployment in Spain is over 50%. How this links to the complete population? It's mainly like this. 32% of the unemployed people in Spain are young people. 15% of the employed people are young. So it's really not very good statistics for the young people. Here we see one of the first things, as we were telling in the other countries, the statistics, even if it's such a big number, are fake. There is a 16% of the inactive young people that really are just young people that have been unemployed for a long time, so they didn't check again, or that never wrote themselves as unemployed, or that they got simply one job for 1 month and until next year they are not going to be unemployed. From the employed people, 600,000 are part-time, 84% of them would like to be full-time, and 54% of all the young people that are working are overqualified. Okay, 44.6 of percent of unemployment. This is now because in Spain the government started saying that now you are a young person until 30. Before it was until 25. It's 57.2% for young people under 25. In a way, this is good. Now you are a young person for more time. But yeah, it's some cheap makeup for the statistics. In other countries, we are saying that the majority, even the most or all of the young people that are unemployed are with lower education. In Spain, already 34% are with high education, from which only 2% are with master or PhD. This also means that these 2.5 million people that are unemployed are the 25% of the European youth that is unemployed. That can be the reason why in your country you see so many Spanish people. 1 of every 4 young people doesn't have a job and is Spanish. Long-term unemployment went 900% in 1 year. It's more than 50%. 25% of them is young people, so it's almost 1 million of young people that don't have a job for more than 1 year. And 63% of them is for more than 2 years. So it's a situation that is getting each time more desperate for these young people, and of course all the consequences that it has. If they don't find a job, it's going to be more difficult for them to find a job. They have to think long term, they get used to it, and then finally not having a job is a normal thing. Yeah, then we get to the money. In Spain there is no money at all. 35% of the unemployed young people don't receive any support from the government. 27% of the population live under poverty level. This is quite big. And in the young people, this means that 66% of the youth don't have a salary, 44% of the youth have no income. The people that have income is because of the family. And this ends up having 80% of the young people that cannot emancipate. The average age for emancipation in Spain is 32 years old. And that's the average. Yeah, it's interesting. Emancipating is living far away from your parents and by yourself. Yeah, there is no money. So we see all this together, and of course the situation is impossible. How did we get here? We have to go back to 1998, when the government decided to put a very good equation saying if we construct more houses, the price of the house will be lower and young people will be able to get a house. In 2002, we already had a lot of houses. Many people were working on the construction, so we went from an unemployment of 20–25% for the whole society to around 8%. It was one of the best moments in Spain. Then the government said, let's make it even better. And they made the second magic equation. If we make it very easy for the employers to have employees, employers will have more employees and unemployment will go even lower. And that was the huge boom. Everybody wanted to buy a house. And we saw some good things. We saw how there were more workers, the unemployment went even lower. We got to 6% record in Spain. Everybody had a house. And we saw one of the first problems. Companies that had a lot of black money used the houses to clean that money. Money laundering was starting to happen in a big way. All the Mediterranean coast was made out of houses, out of black money. This was a Spanish way of life. Everybody should have a house. And we went from these rural areas that the government said, oh, these are perfect for becoming big cities. Many of you may know, for example, Benidorm is a city that 10–20 years ago had 20,000 inhabitants. Now it has skyscrapers with more than 100 floors. Yeah, interesting. In 2005, Spain was making more houses than France, Germany, and Italy all together. But there was a problem. If you remember the first equation, when we have more houses, the prices will go down. Really, the prices didn't stop going up. And we got to this situation where the price of the houses from 1998 to 2005 went to the double, the salaries stayed the same. And that exploded. What does that explosion mean? That we didn't have any more income, no more houses were able to be done, everybody was unemployed. The only way to have more income was putting more taxes. The only way to cut expenses was to give less workers rights so they could lower the salary, to privatize social security, to divide the energy into 4 or 5 companies, to cut all the social and cultural support from the government, and what is happening lately, also to privatize education. Having this into account, and also seeing the scandals that we have in Spain in the last years, how these revolving doors, all the ministers are going to the companies to which they are giving like special benefits, how there are more than 900 cases of corruption around Spain between top politicians, and how that corruption even get to the monarchy, where, yeah, the king cannot be touched, but his family can, so they are starting to be incurred. We have this very sad statement. I hate reading it, but it's like that. Citizens are tired and don't trust their leaders. This week, in the news, they were showing how in the last survey, 92% of the people in Spain don't trust the president of the government. The record before him was Zapatero, the president before, it was 88%, and the record before him was Aznar, the president before, it was 86%. So each time, less citizens are trusting the government. As you all know, Indignados happened, the 99%, the Spanish Revolution, and this is the moment when, having all this background information, I get to talk more about NGOs. In 2011, there were different meetings in Spain talking about what NGOs could do, and the answer was always the same. It's impossible for an NGO to do anything because society, and especially young people, don't want to be involved. And then we got this statement back on our faces when we saw how all society was in the streets. NGOs didn't know how to act, but society started mobilizing by themselves. Indignados was a movement started by youth, like completely young people. Then, of course, all society got involved, and especially older generations who fought for the right in the past started leading part of the movement. Indignados was moved by Democracia Real Ya, a real democracy now. It's a movement right now with around 100,000 young people. And the slogans were saying, they call it democracy, but it's not. It's not democracy, it's dictatorship. For the elections, they started saying another democracy is possible, don't vote for them against the bipartidism. And you see these slogans. They were slogans for young people. They were hating the situation. They didn't like society in that moment. Last year, Juventud Sin Futuro, Youth Without a Future, appeared. It's mainly based on young people that are unemployed or that went to other countries to get a job. Right now, it has more than 200,000 young people involved. They don't consider themselves an NGO because they don't want to be inside the structure. But as an informal movement, it's one of the biggest informal movements that exists in Spain and probably in Europe. They started changing a little bit the mentality of hate, the mentality of giving slogans that were really against everything, that were negative, and they started doing some things that were more fun. They made the world record of same people screaming at the same time something, and it was, no vas a tener casa en la puta vida, you are not gonna have a house in your whole fucking life. All around Spain, a number of young people and older people of more than 500,000, 500,000, got together in the public square and screamed that. That was one of the first movements that was telling to the government that there was a big problem. This fun element continued, how to end with the evil. It was a meeting of young people, and they wanted to include decision makers. Of course, no decision maker came. And then different movements from Europe in Spain. It was during 4 days, and it brought most of the changes that I'm going to talk about later. And some fun movements that are quite symbolic, but in a way they are the ones that appear in the news and they are making people know about what's happening, like this. Reflectors Against the Evil, that are groups of young people that don't like what banks are doing. Banks are taking people out of their houses, so they go to the banks and they openly tell them, they put stickers, they put reflecting things, and they say that these banks are kicking people out from their houses, that these banks have a bigger debt than the citizens, but they are the ones that are being helped. Having these two things as a background, having the young people who were anti-everything and were giving these negative slogans, and the young people who were trying to give a fun message and were trying to raise awareness through these, let's say, jokes, 6 months after Indignados started, they couldn't stay anymore in the big square. People had to start doing something more effective. Also, it's quite difficult that an NGO or just a group of citizens is able to change something by meeting all the time. So they went to the neighborhoods. And this is the thing that is happening now. Most of the neighborhoods in Spain are starting to be self-organized. We said the statement before, people don't trust their leaders, so they are creating their own society inside this society. In these neighborhoods, they have assemblies, and in these assemblies, they are doing things like the time banks. If you don't know it, a time bank is that people offer what they can do, and they trade hours of work. So if I can do 1 hour of carpenter, and the other person is good with economics and can help me with my budget for a new business enterprise, or how to pay my taxes, or some person is butcher or something like that, they start to do this society without money and try to cut money in all the things that they can, so they stop their relation with the government as much as possible. This is also happening that when we had this moment with so many houses, everybody was going from the rural area to the urban area, villages are empty, many people are going back to these villages, are trying to be self-sustainable, and this also means that they don't want to have any sort of city hall, they try to avoid having police, they are trying to cut with all the things that a normal society has, because they know that this society is corrupted. It's really sad to say it, but these new societies are appearing like this. If we go to other parts of society that need to be integrated, like for example, labor unions, we have 2 big labor unions that used to coordinate 90% of the workers. Both of them are linked to the left-wing parties in Spain. In the last 2 years, from 90%, they have gone to 60%, because most of the workers are joining themselves in new assembly unions, especially, for example, in the hospitals. It would be the sanitation, well, in the hospital sector. These workers are joining themselves in a new type of assemblies where it's giving the same image as in the other examples. There is no a big head. Everybody is responsible because everybody has to put their part. In education, where schools are being privatized this year, it's happening the same. The workers are getting together. They are starting to give classes in different places instead of giving classes in the schools. This is a color that is characteristic now from almost all the movements in Spain, a change from what was happening in 2011 with the slogans that were more negative. Green is hope. This is the green sea of education, and education was closed for 5 days, but all the students during those 5 days were receiving their classes in other places. And this is probably the biggest example that we can say. Plataforma Antidesahucios is the platform against these people against these banks that are kicking out people from their houses because they cannot pay the loans that they were getting. The slogan is, it's possible, but they don't want. They collected more than 2 million signatures to get a change in the law, so the banks cannot kick out people from their houses if they don't have any other possibility. The government didn't listen to them. They started putting in the houses of the politicians information that this politician is not supporting this law. They got in big trouble, but luckily the European Union is supporting them. The European Parliament is saying that they are right, that the Spanish legislation is wrong, and they got the European Citizens Prize this year. This is to explain, in a way, all together with all these movements, how NGO, and not only NGOs, but citizens, are getting together in Spain and are trying to do the things that, unfortunately, the decision makers are not doing. How active citizens are fighting youth unemployment, how all these movements are also fighting youth unemployment, because they are creating the alternatives for the young people. The young people that were passive until 1-2 years ago and were not finding anything, still cannot find anything, but they are doing other things that are helping them keep in their houses in case that they are living with their family and they're going to be kicked out of their houses, that are helping them stay in doing things as coordinating some of the PR campaigns, as taking the accounts of these organizations, as in some of the cases finally being the ones coordinating the logistics or getting some small jobs that cannot be well paid, but at least are giving them the pocket money that the government is not giving to anyone. It's very sad, but this is what's happening in Spain. Thank you very much.
Mr. Martinez, thank you very much for refreshing us, first of all, and then just providing quite an accurate analysis or overview on the current situation in Spain, youth unemployment. And now, Irmantas, the floor is yours.
Okay, so hello everyone. I'm Irmantas from Lithuania, and I think we all agree that if young person doesn't have experience, it has less possibility to find work. Yeah, and this is a problem for society also. Lithuanian NGO sector is based on volunteer work, or if it's paid, the payment isn't so high. People are often working as for investment for their future or a tribute for public welfare. But the most important thing is to have this experience when you can do mistakes, because in labor market you are not forgiven if you're making mistakes, and usually young people who are not experienced, it's really good for them. So right now we are talking about NGO, how does NGO reflects on youth unemployment. And our NGO where I'm working, we are reflecting on youth unemployment, and we are reflecting on active NGOs who are using really good methodology. And this is what I will represent, our work. But before, as we mentioned that youth should have a possibility to do volunteer work, from 2014 in Lithuania will be a new opportunity for youth to have volunteer work in Lithuanian NGOs. So we are using the same methodology as EVS, European Voluntary Service, but in national way. So this will be from 2014. And it's being sponsored by Lithuanian government. So our NGO is based on entrepreneurship and leadership. We are willing to educate young people to know themselves better, to have a risk, and do first steps in self-sustainability in their life. So mainly our members of our organization are 16 to 29 years old. Right now we have like 20 active people, 20 not so active people, but for 2 years we had like 50 members who now live in Mažeikiai, in our area, in other Lithuanian cities, or abroad. And they received this kind of activities like projects, social businesses, trainings, and leisure time. On our projects, we were working on business plan writing to give youth a possibility to meet businessmen, to work on business ideas, and to share their experience at schools. Youth for youth. We have also other projects and cooperation with other organizations. This is a street musician day, which is happening in all Lithuania. And we are inviting in our city to musicians who are professional and not professional to go in outside and just play the music. And usually, like in this event in our city, where's inhabitants 45,000 people, we have 200-300 musicians and 5,000-6,000 of participants, visitors. So, and after this event, some youth received offers from other people to play for the money in their events. So it's also, you know, going outside and show what you can do. Other event is our aviation event in our city, when we had 25,000 visitors, and our youth were working as organizers and helping work. And this can also be used in CV, and those numbers really show that that wasn't so easy. We are doing videos, we are cooperating with people who are professional and not, but the thing is, like, we had orders from the companies to do commercials also, so just give the opportunity for youth to work on what they love and show that they can get money from this. Of course, we are in cooperation with Eurodesk. Eurodesk is international organization which is based on informing youth on mobility, voluntary work, travel, education, etc. Right now in Lithuania we have 13 partners in 13 regions, and we are partners in our town, and we are informing youth about possibilities. And I think this is a good way, because Eurodesk is investing that you will have one website where you will have like all info for youth, because right now there is really much info in internet, and it's really hard to choose the right one. So we are investing to have just one website with newest info. Of course, we are bringing a possibility for youth to meet other young people and active ones. So we had one event when we had young people representing 20 communities, and again, for young people is really needed to see other one that they are more or less active, you know, and have as an example that I can be better. Also, we are organizing a lot of activities in non-formal space, in loft house. So there's like, in the past there was a factory, and we are organizing concerts. It's a possibility for young people to show what they can, you know, and concerts, workshops on photography, on music, and so on, so on. So we're trying for young people, you know, to gather in non-formal space, that it won't be so stressful in formal, like over here. And we are trying to be very close with local business association, which has 67 members, and we gave the idea to produce 5 unique souvenirs for our city, and they said, yeah, okay, let's do this. So it's very good for organization to be self-sustainable. For youth, it's really good because they received creativity workshops, and then this is the investment into their future, because we said if you will have like good profit, we will share it, you know, and some money will be for you, for NGO, and we had some ideas. We had like 18 ideas. Now we are working on them. So it's also creative work, but at the same moment they need to do market analysis and a lot of work, which later they can use in their own CV. And of course, we are having a lot of trainings on entrepreneurship, leadership, and in Lithuania, of course, very good resources, Youth in Action program, which was mentioned before today, because NGOs can use the program, the resources, and do a lot of initiatives with youth. So the thing is, like, we are investing in youth that they would be active and have a responsibility. And we have a lot of projects abroad, and this is one of them. And you know, I think from the Germany was mentioned that young people would have a perspective that they're not alone in small community, and the world is really big, huge, and so, and of course, leisure time, meeting your colleagues, meeting the same people from youth centers, from NGOs, and not feeling like you're doing some kind of madness, things which are not needed, you know. So just to bring this to youth that they're not alone. And hub spaces, spaces where young people are doing business, and there are a lot of NGOs, and we are also working on social responsibility, because like you don't have to work just for yourself, but also have responsibility for your community. So we are cooperating with football teams, clubs, with people with fewer opportunities, and this is one of the examples. We were doing so bubble thing, you know, as you see in the pictures, and we're doing this for fun. And later on, like after 1 week, we received offer from businessmen that we are organizing our event. Is it possible to give money for you, and you would do this, you know, in our space? Yeah. So the way is like, be open with your work in community, and let people see that there are active youth. They're trying. They're creative, and maybe you will receive any offer, you know, and this is again workshops in outside, even if it's not so warm, -14. So get out of your comfort zone. This is the way, and of course having fun. And of course, cooperation with the business is really important, and with all the partners, because they usually see not just NGO, but people, young people who are inside. And we have members who are employed, not employed, studying, not studying, you know, so we have all this mixture. And be noticeable in internet, sharing your good practice. And I think values of our work in NGO sector is really helping for youth in labor market, because they're learning how to love challenges, to love place where you live, and creativity, leadership, self-confidence, tolerance, and this all is investment for your future. So yeah, on this we are working, and it's not so easy, and it's not for all youth, you know. One are realizing this at this moment, another for the future, but this is main our work, and some of our people understood that they want to go studying after meeting our youth who already ended studies. Some of them participated in events like this, where a lot of people, and there were some businessmen, and they were saying like, we need young people who would just arrive and say like, I want work. I want that you would invest in me. And from all 100 young people, we were like 4 of us. 2 of our people, as they love challenges, after this meeting, they were the only one. They went and asked him, yeah, we would like to try this. And then like after 1 week, they received like work. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, all of you, and perhaps we still have a few minutes for questions. So if you have one in mind, please don't hesitate.
First, I want to comment about Versli Karta. I really like your approach, and I think it's really a model how to make youth visible in society. And I would like to ask a question to Ramón for Spain. When I had the history profile,
Yep.
I saw Croatia, but not starting in 90s, but starting in 2000s. I don't know if you are acquainted about document social investment package that was in this spring made in European Union, and one of the key goals in this document was that national governments must make a model how to protect families and people in risk of eviction.
Yeah.
And we here when I was seeing Spain, I was seeing Croatia, maybe in few years, maybe in 2014. We have same problems.
The example was the last one that I showed, like how even the European Union has said in court that what the banks and the government are doing is illegal, and the government is saying that they don't care. It's last week. The government wanted to cut in retrospective way the Erasmus grants from this year. And all the Erasmus students that were in other countries were like, well, that cannot be done also because that money is coming from the European Union. And finally, 2 days later, they said, no, it was a mistake, it's only for next year. And still, like yesterday or the day before, the European Union said that, like, you cannot cut that money. That money is from Europe to the young people. We are having this problem. The government has proven that they spend more time and effort in making sure that they continue in the power than supporting the people. And we are not seeing any sort of support for anything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for all the presentations. All were very interesting, with invitations for cooperation and with the example of entrepreneurship in Lithuania. But my question is about Spain also. I wanted to know how you told about this barter economy, that people started to exchange services for services. And I'm really curious how popular is this kind of activity.
So popularity is rising, but the main example of the time banks is in Madrid. Most of the neighborhoods already have it, and it's working in a good way. I never remember the name of the neighborhood that started. They have a website where you can see all the members. Their coin is the rosemary, and every hour is 10 rosemaries, and they are putting it in their windows. They are using it as a symbol. But this is really a problem. I mean, this sounds very nice. It sounds like, wow, it's wonderful. It's going to be a society without money. But this is really happening because people don't have money. I mean, I'm working in Germany because I don't have any possibility for a job. Or if there are a possibility for a job in Spain, I don't find them. Or if I try to be an entrepreneur, it's going to be much more difficult than in other countries. And that is what young people is doing. That's what many people in society is doing. In Germany, I see how the people who cannot get a job are supported. And in Spain, like, there is no money when you're studying, there is no money if you're looking for a job, and there is only a little bit of money during 6 months after you were working for at least 1, or now they are going to change it to 2. So if they cannot help you with money and you don't have anything, if more people are living under poverty level, the reason why we are doing a society without money is because we don't have it.
It's still very innovative. I am from Poland, which lost around 2 or 2.5 million people in the recent years, just because of high unemployment, but nobody started initiative like in Spain. I think you are very innovative, and it also shows a kind of this positive attitude even in hard times, which may be helpful.
The thing is that most of these initiatives, the young people are the ones that are really working for it, but there is always some older person, some person in the 50s because they don't have a job and they really want to stay doing something, or even older, that they used to fight for their rights when we had the dictatorship, and that they know these methods, they used to use them, and they are like teaching the young people how they can do alternative things. So it's this intergenerational work at the end. And if we think about it, that's what we need. We cannot focus on one target group. If we have the young people coordinating with the 50+ people that are also in a big risk, and all these people together coordinate with the people that are working, and all these people together coordinate with the kids, we will also solve the problem of education. Finally, it's this holistic approach. If we separate the groups, finally, it's easier for the people in the power to say, each group is separated, we don't have to help them. If we put all the groups together, we see movements that indignados, something unique, something that we don't repeat even if we should, but it can happen.
Okay, so thank you very much, all of you. Thank you very much for the questions. We should stop here because we ran out of time. And also, I don't want to keep you separated from lunch. So thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for your contribution, and enjoy your meal.